All right. Welcome to another episode of Unheard Journeys. I'm Mike DePalma, alongside my co-host, Mike Bloomfield. We got a great guest for us today. Mike,
take it away. First, why am I only the one that dances? No one ever wants to dance?
Have you seen me dance?
No. So, Mike, we have a great guest with us today, a very good friend of mine, Brian Licata of Marvel Consults. And one of the things we've discussed, when we started this podcast is we don't want this to just be people on the IT channel. Obviously, we have a lot of IT connections and we're going to have a ton of people in the channel, but we want to make that reach further, right? We want to be able to hear from some of my friends, clients, and then we're even going to go, like we discussed, to some other MSPs and maybe help. We want to hear their client stories and help give them some the ability to get on a podcast and really talk about themselves. So Brian has a very unique story that I'm excited to get into because knowing what he does now and knowing where he started, which I believe I was having this discussion, was it Applebee's? It wasn't Outback. It was Applebee's, right?
So I don't think anyone takes that linear trajectory anymore, right? Like you don't go to high school, go to college and come out and that's exactly what you do. So yeah, I zigzagged a lot. I think my first real job was Applebee's, like kitchen in front of the house manager.
How old were you? That was
oh my God,
college?
No. Well, just starting. I was like 19 and, one of those things, they opened up the new Applebee's in New Dorp, right?
Okay.
So 1995, Applebee's opens up. One of my friends is like, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to be a waiter. And I was like, I would love to be a waiter. I went for an interview and the guy who was interviewing me was like, oh my God, you belong in the back of the house. He's like,
you're not good looking enough to be in the front.
So mixture of, I don't have the looks. Thank you. But it's also personality. He was like, you will fit in fine in the back. Right? Like, let's just put you back there.
Those are your people.
Yeah. And I was probably there less than a year. And they were like, have you ever thought about going corporate and becoming like a manager? And then the next 2 years, I opened up Applebee's like all up and down New York. So I actually went corporate and I used to open up the new stores and train all the staff. Then came back and I was like, I got to go to college. Right. And, so it was.
So you weren't in college at that point?
I had enrolled in college and I had decided that I did not like college. Right. And then Applebee's at the time had offered me a lot of money for like, an 18, 19-year-old. Right. So I was like, I'm not doing college.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And then I realized what the restaurant life is like.
The double-edged sword could be fun. Terrible.
It was great to, go out with everybody after work. And then I would talk to some of the guys who are my age now.
Like they were the lifers.
And I was like, so when do you see your kids? And they were like, occasionally.
Birthdays, holidays.
If you're lucky, you get to see them on the birthdays and the holidays. And I was just like, this is not for me. I was like, that was not what I wanted. Right. So so I went back to college and originally majored in accounting. Right. Because I like numbers and I like spreadsheets.
Wait, so coming out of what you were doing, you didn't want to get into like management or like business management or any of that? Like the skills you were learning at Applebee's?
So it's funny. I still have to tell you, even a lot of the groups I work with, I still lean back. Right. Working in a corporate restaurant is so different than working in a mom and pop place.
Yep.
Rules, order, all that stuff. I mean, yes, kitchens are chaotic. But when you talk about the way that things have to be done, I could be in 7 or 8 different Applebee's in a week. And they were everything worked the same.
Because they had SOPs.
Exactly.
Everything was spelled out, SOPs. Here's how it gets done. Here's how you do the close of the day. Here's how you do the opening of the day. It's all spelled out for you.
And I am very anal retentive with things. So I love that.
Yeah.
Where it was like, didn't matter where you went. It was a book. You opened it up. Everyone did the same thing. But I didn't think at the time. I was like, you know what, business management? No, I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because a lot of times people don't present to you what your options are. Yeah. So like the funniest story is I went back to school. I was originally like an accounting major, so I continued. I didn't want to go down accounting. I switched my majors, and I actually have a BA in history. The joke was I wanted to be like Indiana Jones. I
Fair enough.
wanted to get my PhD.
He's cool.
Yes. But after I started talking with people, they were like, well, like nobody finds lost treasure anymore.
Not yet.
Yeah. I was like, well, do I still get the whip? Like, do I get the gun? And they were like, it's a 7-year process. And they were like, you took time off. And this is like really long. So I was like, okay. I changed and I went education. All right. So I have a BA in history. I have a master's in education and school building leaders, which is like what they switched administration to. So I did come back to the administration part, right? It was a very rounded way because I was teaching. And as I was teaching, I realized that working with a group of 30 students was nice. Having 3 or 4 classes of 30 was cool. But once you really started to work with the whole building or districts, it was a completely different thing because you were impacting more lives. And at the time I was, like most teachers, I was a side job working in a nonprofit. I had dabbled in nonprofit work since I was like 14, worked at summer camps, all these things. And the nonprofit kept coming back and saying, we got this contract and we need somebody to supervise our after school programs. Do you think you could drive around for 3 or 4 hours a day and pop into offices for like 10 minutes and tell us how it is? I'm like, okay, you want me to drive around and have coffee and eat McDonald's and tell you how a program is for 15 minutes and then drive to another one? I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
Right. But they kept coming back and offering me like, we need more. Can you do more hours? Can you do this? And I had my administration master's and they were like, would you like to oversee a department that we're going to build out? And, same thing. I was young. I was like, well, that would be great. So left teaching, moved into full-time nonprofit work. I started overseeing an employment program, right? Working with 14 through 24-year-olds. I will tell you, very meaningful work, right? In fact, I still run into people all the time who will ask me when they see my name, like, did you used to run this program? And I always say everything, it all depends. So
Did you like it?
did you have a good experience?
Yeah, right.
Was I nice to you?
Did you get your paycheck?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had a client that I just signed up recently, and he asked me, he said, we were having a meeting, and he said, I want you to meet the person in our office that's going to be, the person handling this. The woman gets on the phone, and she looks at my name, and she said, oh, my God. She was like, you helped me and my kids with this program like 10 years ago, right? Worked out great because that was how I wound up like signing up the client. So I started doing more work in the nonprofit, overseeing a program, overseeing multiple programs, overseeing a department. And then before you know it, I was overseeing my department was bringing in, probably around $5-6 million a year, right? Had 200 people underneath me. I stayed for like another 10 years. And my employer, he was older. He was a great guy. He kept saying, this is my last year. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to take over. The only thing was he used to tell that to everybody. So one day,
There was 10 of you. It was like a gladiator fight. You were going to fight
Yeah.
for that.
I'm going to tell you
Games.
that there's going to be people that are going to watch this video and they're going to laugh because they're going to be like, he told that to me. So we're having a conversation one day. I'm married. I have kids, got a mortgage, all this stuff. And I said, listen, I'm just, when are you retiring? He goes, Brian, this is my last year. And I said, okay. I was like, you were at my engagement party. You were at my wedding. You've seen my kids born,
They're now married with their own kids.
Yeah. I'm like, my kids now come here and clean, so when are you leaving? And he goes, I promise you, this is my last year. And I said, okay, I promise you, this is my last year. All right. So I took all that knowledge that I had, food and restaurant, working the corporate, teaching, running government programs, working in the nonprofit world, and I rolled them all together into a company, right? And in the nonprofit world, there's a lot of people that the nonprofits hire. They hire IT companies, they hire marketing companies. They're really good at doing the specific thing that they do, right? Providing services, helping, whether it's homeless, immigrant, youth development, all those things. What they're not good at are the business things because they're usually run by educators and social people, right? So they bring in outside consultants, and I put together a company that was able to help nonprofits, and for-profits get city, state, federal contracts, help bring in, additional funding. I took all that skill set that I had with the organization, the SOPs, strategic planning, and I said I could apply exactly what an Applebee's, an Outback does to a nonprofit or to a business, right? And it's still funny because, you look back sometimes, I couldn't be where I am without all of those positions. I can't skip ahead. I could
You
not.
needed the whole journey.
You need
The whole journey brought you to where you are now.
Yeah, and parts of the journey sucked, right?
Yeah.
But you can't just come out of college and say, I'm going to start, a consulting company with my life experience, because you have no life experience.
Well, nowadays kids do. Now they come out of college, they're like, hey, I'm going to make $175,000.
Yeah.
I'm going to take all the time off I need. And, I'm not actually going to come into work.
No.
To the office.
I'm the CEO, though.
Yeah, so it was one of those things, like, and I speak at a lot of high schools, I speak at colleges. The zigzag is more real now than it ever was, right? Because we want to move up the ladder of wherever we are, but sometimes in order to do that, you have to jump to a new ladder, right? And you have to take the skills that you have. Like I love college. I don't think all three of my kids are going to go to college, and I'm cool with that. Like I don't think that all of them have to. But they need to have skills, whether it's credentials, whether it's, work experience, life experience. You need those things to perform properly. You can't just come out and be like, I'm going to be a motivational coach. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
But I think, you're talking about every step, you're taking some knowledge out of it. But I think what stops a lot of people from doing a journey like you did is taking that chance, right? You could have stayed at Applebee's and been safe, right? I mean, you would have lived the life like you're talking about,
Yeah.
but you knew you had a steady income. And then a teacher, I mean, that's 30 years, but so you had to take those leaps. How hard was that?
So Mike knows. So there was a push with Applebee's, right? I was young. At one point, I lived out of one hotel for like 6 months, right? I had a great time.
You were 19, 20, right? Yeah.
I mean,
So the bathroom, I filled up the bathtub with like ice and beer every night.
yeah.
Like I had a great time there. When I came back to New York City, I met this girl who worked there, and we had a handbook with policy and procedures that you're supposed to follow, and there was no fraternization.
Yeah.
Right? I liked her. We started to date. And at one point, I went to my bosses and I said, "Listen, I'm dating Amy, the bartender," and they were like, "Well, that's not good."
Turn to page 44.
Yeah.
But,
And I said, "Okay."
Section 67.8.
yeah.
I said, "What do I do? Do I fire her?" And they were like, "No." They said you
That
can't.
would be good.
They
Yeah.
said you can't fire her. They said we can move her, we can move you. They said that we want to keep you. So what do we got to do to keep you happy? And I went and I talked to her, and then I heard somebody had talked to her separately, and I came back in and Mike knows I'm good at burning bridges.
Oh. He's very good at it.
Yeah. I sent a fax to everybody.
Come on.
I let everybody know I was done.
It's like that scene, you've seen Half Baked, the movie Half Baked, where he's like, you know what I'm talking about. I won't say the words, but yeah.
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 So, I mean, because it's 98. So we're faxing still.
Most people weren't using, they were using AOL. He can have everyone's email address.
That's right.
So he
Yeah,
was
right.
faxing them.
Because they had let her go.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I got her job back. I left. And I said, okay, I got to go back to school. Right. You're right. I probably would have stayed there. Fast forward, I was working. I told her I wanted to start my own company. She read me the riot act. We got kids, we got a mortgage. What are you, stupid? And I said, it's a risk. And she said, okay. I want to see it on paper. Right. I want to see what you think you can bring in, when you can bring it in, how are we going to survive?
Yep.
Right. But she was actually the one who came to me one day and she said, you need to quit your job. Right. Because now I had built up a client base. I still had the money from my regular job because I didn't quit a job and just start off. I was doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
And she was the one who said, she was like, you got to leave.
She said, go burn another bridge.
Yeah.
I was like,
Pull that fax machine out.
The crazy thing, and I'm curious if it's always your whole life it's been like this. You have one of the most insane memories of anyone I know. Now, is that something you learned, or do you have a photographic memory?
Yeah. So I went through high school and I did not open books. Now, I went to a high school that, prides itself on being for very, very smart people.
They allowed me in there, so it definitely is not.
I was able to always do well. I just listen, I absorb. Even in college, I went to all the classes, I went to the lectures, I listened, right? I took notes, I read my notes. But yes, I've always had extremely good recall. I wouldn't say it's exactly photographic, but like if I read a book, I could tell you where things were.
So yeah, we started a couple of years ago. So when the cannabis industry was coming into New York, me and a few friends, including Brian, were putting together like a cannabis association here in New York. And we would go into these cannabis events, and we're in New Jersey and different ones. And we walk in and like, we're trying to just network and mingle and learn more. I go up to someone, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Brian comes in, what regulation 45.867 that came out yesterday. I just read the 30-page, and I'm just in there. Is he bullshitting, or does he actually know? And then like when you listen, like he read it yesterday before we went and knew everything about it.
So I told you I have a BA in history.
Yeah.
I did not get a BA in education. I'm a licensed special education history teacher. I took all of my education tests by taking an online practice test, and then the next day going in and taking the real test.
Come on.
So now I CLEPT, right? And so when you go to college, if you need extra credits, there are these weird tests that you can take. So there's a thing called a CLEP. It's like a college level entrance program. But like if you're missing something, I CLEPT 60 credits in a week. I would drive out to Queens because you had to go to Queens for the testing. And I would do a practice test on like special education English. And I would do a practice test. I would do horrible. But then I would go back and read what the correct answers were, why these answers were incorrect.
And then you knew them.
And then I went and I took the test. And that was it. I passed everything.
Well, even when AI, like when ChatGPT and Copilot were really starting to come about 2 years ago, that November, like I'm on the phone with Brian. He's like, oh yeah, I just took 3 prompt engineering certifications and got them. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I went through about 80 hours this week. And I just read, I got them. I'm like, I try and my eye, like, not that I can't. It's like my ADD kicks in. I get 4 minutes into it. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Where's the TV? And he's like, oh, I just sat at my computer all week. And he's like, I now certified in prompt engineering, this, that, boom. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
So part of it is really back to like, I am very structured. And I live by my calendar. I can't stand when things get thrown off. So if I say that, I'm having a meeting and somebody moves that meeting, it can have a cascading effect on other things. But if I say that like, okay, I got nothing going on tonight, I'm going to spend like 6 hours and I'm going to put on my Air Max and I am going to go through this whole entire certification on Coursera. I'll bang through, right? I've been known to like write, an RFP like in a weekend. And I'll tell you that it probably meant that I didn't move for 36 hours.
I know because I'll be the one talking to you. I'll call him. I'll text him. He's like, yeah, I'm just sitting on my computer. I haven't moved.
It was the other day. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I started doing work. I think I took like a 5-minute shower somewhere in the middle of the day. Then I sat back at the computer. It was like 10 o'clock at night. And I was just like, I got to finish this.
Yeah.
And now your computer, right? Is it back during COVID, it was in your bedroom. Is it still there?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why you have to get an office.
That's right.
That's the hard part because it's like.
So we opted for like what makes the most sense. My kids wanted a gym in the garage. I gave them the gym in the garage. What really should have happened is the garage should have turned into my office.
Office.
Right?
Do they use that gym?
No.
Can't you just sit on the treadmill with the laptop?
So during COVID, I was doing Zoom meetings or phone calls, conferences. Wait, he'll tell you a funny one, but I was doing a lot of them on my Peloton, right? I would get on the Peloton. I was like, oh, no one is going to be putting on cameras. I'm going to go do 10 miles, right? But then Mike will tell you, where else was I doing meetings?
In the pool. He would float around like, and all saying, he'd be like, and you, like, if you're talking to him, you can't know. And he'd be like, you want to see where I am? And he'd turn his camera. I'm like, you're in the pool. He's like, yeah, I took my last 4 meetings from here.
Does it matter? Like, I mean,
getting the job done.
So that's the thing. And, you know, even I was talking with a young woman the other day about coming on board and helping me with some of my work, right? And she asked, she was like, well, what are the hours like? I was like, no. Deliverables. I don't care when you get them done. You need to get them done. If I tell you I need this tomorrow, what does it matter to me if you did it at 10 o'clock? If you did it at 2 a.m., it's done when I needed it done, when I'm going to finally look, right? Yeah. And that was one of the great things, honestly, about COVID. People switched. They focused more on, is the work done? Not, did somebody sit at their computer for 40 hours?
Right. Yeah.
Right. But now we're back to that again. Now we're back to the, you know, oh, I need people in the office. And
well, we were just having that conversation before you got here. You know, an organization where they basically go around and manually take attendance.
Yeah.
Like you imagine, like you're sitting at your desk and a person walks up, like, Bloomfield, you're here?
Yeah.
I'll see you later to make sure you're still here.
So that's the funny thing. A lot of the groups that I talk to, whether it's a for-profit or nonprofit, the first thing you have to do is evaluate the organization. And as you're doing that, what you're looking at is not just what they have on their org chart, if they have an org chart, but you're looking at what do these people do on paper? What do they actually do? And what do you want them to do? And then why are they here? Right? So when you start to evaluate those things, now you say, this is great. This person is 40 hours a week and they're in this room and they don't interact with anybody. Does it matter? Does it matter that they're there? Right? Could you give them the same amount of money that you gave them and get the same return, but maybe they would be a little bit happier because they would be working 30 hours or 35. And then there's some jobs that are not like that. You can't virtually install cable.
Right. Jimmy's trying to figure it out. But.
You know, so like there are things that it stinks. There's a big difference between office jobs and jobs that require you to be in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's still back. Like you have to have experiences. You have to try things out and you have to learn things. And you're putting those things together to help you, you know, do your job or run your business. It's not just like one day I'm going to be like, you know what? I know how to cook. I can open a restaurant. It doesn't work like that.
What's interesting about your journey, it's gone, you know, obviously a lot of different directions to get you where you are right now, but it seems to be a pretty common theme. You started doing nonprofit stuff when you were 14,
Yep.
right? So you're kind of where, in my mind, maybe your 14-year-old self thought you would be. Like, I have a passion about this. I want to get involved in it. You took a long kind of winding road to get there. But is it kind of similar? Is it kind of where you want to go back to when you were 15? Where do you think you'd be right now?
No one told me when I was 15 that was an option, right? And that's what I always come back to. When I was in high school, I met with my guidance counselor. She told me I needed immediate gratification. And she said, you should mow lawns. Right?
Really?
Oh, yeah. And I remember saying like, no, like I'm not going to mow lawns. So
there's some good money in landscape.
It's all cash too. Uncle Sam doesn't know about it.
Well, apparently I was going to be working for somebody else. She didn't tell me I should own a business.
Yeah, it's her uncle.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, no one really sat down and laid out like, well, hey, listen, you like doing this. Did you know that a summer camp counselor is the pathway to becoming a teacher? And becoming a teacher could lead you down to becoming a principal, could lead you down to becoming an executive director of a nonprofit. It wasn't until maybe 10 years later that I started to have that thought in my head.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I do have my nonprofit executive director certificate, right? Because I had time. So like I went and I
had time. Yeah, I had 250 hours to kill time.
Yeah. But you're right. It's, you know, did anyone know that pathway could take you where you went And is there a part of me that, like, I've always loved working with nonprofits, always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And knowing you still, if you look at your journey, you're still very heavily and you're using that to lean on. So not only the nonprofits, right? You still do a ton of stuff with various schools and various nonprofits that, do education. The fact of, a number of your clients are now doing hospitality and food and kitchens and cooking classes and things because you know that experience. And then you've helped use that to build these programs that they're implementing in their nonprofits.
So and even the for-profits, if you look at the for-profits that I work with, there's a common theme. They want city, state, or federal money, right? So it might be a for-profit that is looking to get paid from schools or get paid from other nonprofits to do the work that they're doing. It could be that there's a for-profit that I'm working with, and they're looking to do a huge industrial project, but they need state funding, right? State funding doesn't matter if you're a nonprofit or for-profit; it works the same way.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you're right. I'm leaning into the database that I know. Right now, I can tie things together. Occasionally, I have a client that comes out and I have to learn, right? I had to learn all about what HIPAA is and how it affects a couple of businesses I work with, right? And, but that's back to
He was certified in about 4 hours.
yeah. I will sit there and read everything I can find and ask questions. And, I'm not afraid to tell someone, I don't know, but I'll get back to you.
Hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then what do? I call people who are in that world or who know.
Yeah.
And use your photographic memory.
Yep.
So we go back to, like, say you're 7 or 8, you're knocking down your first bridge you built as a Lego. What did you think? What was your dream? Where, if I ask little Brian, what are you going to do when you are older? What did you want to do?
I think I'd probably tell you something like, I want to be a fire truck.
You want to be the fire truck?
The fire truck. Yeah. So I don't know. When I look all the way back, I had been working, since I was 14, right? I worked in a video store. I worked in food places in the mall. I worked at summer camps. I kind of always thought I would be doing something in that realm because that was the only thing that was ever presented to me.
That's what you knew.
Yeah. I had no idea, like, any of these other, if somebody would have told me, we graduated in different decades. When I went to high school, there was no such thing as social media.
Because you're old.
I am. I'm very old now. And when we were in college, social media was just coming out.
Right.
And a friend of mine was actually smart enough to figure out this is going to be something, and he got into that world and he blew up. I don't think that people realize, like, if you put blinders on people, there's a reason why they're stuck in certain ways.
Right.
Because they're not exposed to anything. So, like.
And a lot of it's is the dream, like an astronaut.
Yeah.
Like, it's all like when you were younger, like that's what most of us do is most young kids aren't sitting there going, I want to own a business. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a doctor.
You see the things that you see on TV and movies, right? I never said that I wanted to be a baseball player or anything like that because I knew that wasn't real, right?
It could be. Anything could be real if you put
exactly
your mind to it.
I'm still waiting for that call from the Mets. They need an outfielder.
Outfielders, pitchers. They need some infielders.
Hey, you had the opportunity. You almost played for a team in Italy.
I did, the Godo Dragons. Maybe they'll call me back.
And he would have also had hospitality, right? Because you would have had to bust tables, though, right?
Yeah,
that was the deal.
When I got out of college, I got offered a contract to play over in Italy, and the $2,500 a month, and you got a job at the owner's restaurant, like busting tables. I mean, this is the top premier baseball league over in Italy. That's what you got to do, bust tables.
You don't hear a lot of people put those words together sometimes, though. Top Premier League in baseball in Italy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I was waiting for you to say, like, it was going to be like soccer Series A.
No.
Yeah. But no, I didn't know it. But so my parents, my parents are both foreigners. They did not go to college, right? My mom worked at CBS, actually as an accountant, before she had kids. And after she had kids, they offered, to keep her job. And she was like, no, I don't need this. Still kicked herself like 20 years later. Like, I should have went back to work. Like, like that. You
After
don't,
you tortured her.
yeah, you don't realize where it is. My dad, came here. He worked in a pizzeria. He swept floors. He got a job as a janitor in a factory, and then he learned how to use all the equipment. And then he bought the place, right? So he owned the factory. But there were only a couple of jobs that I knew people in my family had who owned a pizzeria, who worked as a jeweler, right? And, who worked in a factory or a longshoreman. That was it. I didn't know that there was really options. And even like when it came time to go look at colleges, my parents didn't understand like how that worked, right? So I actually didn't go look at any colleges. And then one day I remember I was like, I got to apply. Like, where am I going to go?
Yeah, and then you go to your guidance counselor. Where should I go? Well, you should go mow lawns. You know what I mean?
Brian, you're going to go to college? Yeah.
I do mow a good lawn.
Yeah, nice.
I definitely don't.
But it's a strange thing. I mean, this. A lot of people are in the business that they're in because they kind of fell into it a little bit.
Accidental entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Most MSPs, right? When
Our industry, it's
It's
majority
all-
of them. Yeah.
accidental entrepreneur. And most of them are techs. Like they're in their mind, that is what they are good at.
Yeah. And when I try to explain it to people, because like I have people who will ask me, you're really knowledgeable about this. We think that you would be great to come and work in our agency. And I'm like, I own a business,
Yeah.
right? Like, and they're like, yeah, but we'll pay you. And I'm like, you're already paying me more than what you just offered me to work full time.
Yeah.
Well, I just watched a video, Linus Tech Tips on YouTube. He released a video today and he was talking about, expenses and such. And he said the big thing is with owner taking their money, right? And the profit side, when you work for someone, there's a ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much market value. What does that position pay? But when you're an entrepreneur, you control that ceiling
Keep growing.
because you keep growing. You can make it as big as you want. He goes, obviously, it comes with its downsides, right? That not everyone could run their own business and deal with the stress and going and collecting money and money on the street and employees. But that's what entrepreneurial gives you is the fact that there isn't really a ceiling. You control it by however hard you're willing to work and grow. You could just keep it going.
The lower floor, higher ceiling. Whereas somebody that's got a standard job, higher floor, lower ceiling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very funny when so when I worked in the nonprofit world and I was doing the job development, right? What you saw was that the out of school, out of work population, specifically the justice involved population, they knew that the only pathway for them was to help them create their own businesses, right? Because
They weren't going to get hired.
they weren't going to get hired. And it's funny because I used to say it all the time, like, why aren't we doing that with everyone? Right?
Yeah.
Like, why aren't we just helping everyone start a business? Because, if you want to become wealthy, you don't become wealthy working for most people. Unless you're working at a huge company. But most people, like you said, you get an hourly job, you are going to hit a wall at one point or another. And they might come back and offer you some sort of compensation and things, but that's it. Now, the nice thing about working for someone is that you don't have to worry about them collecting money. You don't have to worry about, clients and things like that.
You're going to get your paycheck every week.
Yes.
You get your benefits.
Yeah.
It's the owners who, employees get paid before we do.
Yeah.
If it's a bad month, that means I might not be getting paid.
And it's scary at times, like there's no net. But like you said too, if I decide that I'm going to put things in cruise control and then, I'm like, why am I not making more money? Oh, that's right. I forgot I was lazy this last 6 months.
Right.
Right. But if I say that, you know what,
Kicking it up.
ties to the walls here, we're going to go for this and I'm going to bring in more money and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. Now it's on me. I have to have full ownership. So when my business is successful, I get to take all the glory. And when my business is not successful, when my business makes a mistake, I have to eat it all. And that's a hard thing. Like everyone should not be a business owner. And you need a world like that. You need people who are worker bees. You need people who are fantastic number twos. And occasionally you need someone who's going to come up and be like, wow, I could run a business so much better than this.
And sometimes those fantastic number twos are not designed to be number ones. We've had this discussion with various things we're a part of.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. No.
You know,
Because I probably would be a terrible number two because I'm an alpha and I'm going to want to make the decision.
And not everyone wants to get up in front of a stage and talk to everybody, right? Doesn't mean that their job's any less valuable or anything else.
Or that they're lazy. That's the misconception.
Yeah.
Oh, how come you don't want to move up? How come you want to be an executive? That's not what they want to do. Doesn't mean they're not awesome at that job. I mean, how many people do I know, sales especially, that are great salespeople, they become managers and they hate it and they're not good. It's a different skill set.
Yeah.
Totally.
But they're told, oh, you got to become a manager. You
Right.
gotta
That's
do
your
this.
path.
This is your path. But sometimes your path, you're where you need to be, you know?
Yeah. So the one thing I'll say, like my big takeaway from all the places that I've worked, you know, from being a kid, you know, until starting my own business, the best owners that I worked for, the best directors that I worked for were not micromanagers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what set them apart. You know, I had a guy, I worked in the food court in the mall, right? When I was in high school, I worked in the South Philly cheesesteak store.
That place is so good.
Place.
Do you know the new Radicals, You Get What You Give, the song?
Yeah.
It was filmed there.
No.
The music video.
I worked there.
What, while they did that?
Yeah. So, you know, back in the day, South Philly cheesesteak store in the mall before they became the Charlies, right? Because that was a big switch.
It had the red brick, great fries. Now I'm hungry.
So one of my friends got a job there, and then he got me a job because social equity is really how you get things, you know, in life. And the owner, you either loved him or you hated him. I loved him 98% of the time, right? But he was the kind of owner where he would be like, it's 5:00. I'm leaving. You're in charge. And then, you know, 9:45, he would call me or he would come back, sometimes a little drunk. And, you know, he would be like, the guy had just a funny way about him where he would come in, he would yell your last name, you know, like just screaming it out. You'd come running and he would be like, what's up with this? What's up with this? What's up with this? Right. And you take care of everything that needed to be done. He never questioned how you ran things during the time that he asked you to run things. What he did was he came back and he said, okay, this wasn't done right. This wasn't done right. This wasn't done right. Next time, make sure it's done. Right. Yeah. I need you to do this. I don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
This is what I need you to do.
Yeah.
The worst people I ever worked for shouldn't actually have employees because they micromanage so much that if you're going to send me an email and I'm going to correct your email and then send it back to you and then ask you to send it, why do they ask you to do it?
Yeah, just go do it yourself.
Do it yourself. If I'm not going to like the way that you put something together or install it, so I'm going to redo it, why I should just pay myself more and just do everyone's job.
Yep.
Right. But that's the hard thing because being a manager is not about giving orders. It's about elevating the people underneath you.
Yeah.
And not everyone is good at that. They think it's just barking orders and then checking off things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting journey.
Listen, it's my journey.
Do we plan on burning any bridges this week?
You know, I gotta tell you, I'm good at that. Like if there's,
I wish you had a copy of that fax you sent out. I would love to see it. We'll put it right up on the
He
screen.
probably does.
Laminated.
you know, so it's funny because after I sent it out, like I made phone calls, and you know, I had worked. So this was back in the day. This was Apple Metro, right? And Apple Metro just sold to the guys in Jersey. So Apple Metro owned the Chevys, which became Rio Bravos.
Yeah.
They own the Applebees, all throughout, you know, New York City, upstate, Mount Kisco area, Mamaroneck, all that stuff. I did my training in the mall, and, you know, managers like all go to different stores. And I had people who like call in the store that I worked at. I just got this fax. Like, now the thing about a fax is a fax always comes up black. Right, like black with white paper, so they couldn't see, like, you know, if you did anything in marker, they couldn't see the colors or whatever. But you know, everyone got the point I was trying to get. And like they hired Amy back, and then I came in
after his threat. It was literally magazine papers cut up.
I came back like a week or so later. I was sitting at the bar having a drink. She was bartending. And like one of the managers came over and he was like, you know, you're not supposed to be here, right?
You're officially banned from
Your
Everlast.
face is up on the wall there in every Applebee's in America.
So you're not rehirable at Applebee's?
No, actually, they used to talk to me all the time about like, you know, like, are you happy where you are? Like,
Any more faxes you play?
Salt water under the bridge.
yeah. Even like I've run into them and they're like, are you still married? And I'm like, listen, I made the right choice. Like, you know,
Right.
that you roll the dice on it. But you know, when you're gonna go out, you go out in style.
I love it.
I'm not you.
No, Mike doesn't agree.
We have differing opinions on that one.
I'm thick-headed. You know, I'm very thick-headed. I don't always do the right thing. I know.
Well, you admit to it later.
Oh, I know.
You might not apologize.
I'm not going to apologize.
Yeah, but
But
might
you think
admit
about
to
it. At the end of the day, you meet your wife. If that hadn't happened, you very well could still be at Applebee's. You wouldn't be sitting here right now for sure.
She says it all the time. I would have stayed there forever.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just one of those things where, like, you know, right place, right time. Who knows how things would have been different. You know, and then that sets the whole journey off.
Yeah.
Right. Because if I didn't take the job there, or if I didn't go out with her, I would have stayed there forever, or I might never work there at all. Right?
Or
So
if the guy
personally-
made you a waiter instead of doing, you know what I mean?
So the funny thing was, as I went through the whole process, they actually made me a waiter later on, right? Because I had to become a front of the house manager, so they make you a
because you
waiter.
had good memory and they rang out a paper.
So I became a waiter, I became a bartender. Like you do it all. And it was just one of those things where, like, he was right. When I was 18, I belonged in the back. That was
So you couldn't burn bridges with customers.
Yeah.
you could, yeah, you still could. There's ways to do that.
You've seen the movie Wagon?
Oh yeah. I've been thinking about that movie the whole time we've been talking.
That's him in the back.
Oh, Amy says it all the time. We'll talk about things, and she'll tell the kids. She's like, your dad used to yell at me through the window. I'm like, I didn't yell at you. I'm like, I just kept asking you to stop eating the Oreos. Right? I'm like, they're not your Oreos. You know, or you know, like we would talk about things, and it's funny. I still remember the exact way that they taught you how to do things. And the way that I actually work with people is still based on a lot of that.
What you learned, yeah.
Right? Because this is the only thing about, you know, a corporate restaurant. They were able to spend millions upon millions of dollars on staff development. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Right? They did psychological studies. And now you take all of those things. You might not like a corporate restaurant. Doesn't matter. But look at the way that they were doing things. And those are the SOPs that you're supposed to be applying to your business or your nonprofit. Right? You can't be closed-minded. You got to look at everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was interesting. This was great.
You even got a clap from the producer in the back.
The audience is back there cheering for you. No, this was fantastic. I think we've done a few of these episodes now, and what I like about it is there's some common themes, but there isn't. Like at the end of the day, you're 14, 15 years old. You had this passion for nonprofits. You got here, not the way you thought, not even an opportunity that you thought existed when you were 15, right? But you took little pieces from every step and got you where you are. So it's really why we
There's
started
so
a
many
podcast
different
like this.
paths to get to where you're at, where you're trying to go.
You can't say no to anything that comes your way. You have to look at it because you don't know. And now the funniest thing is that now I get offered jobs as executive directors, and I'm like, no.
Right? Imagine that.
Awesome. So Julia's ready.
it.
And subscribe, Unheard Journeys, and we will be back for another episode. 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brian.